morning, guys. I am out here working on the house. Once again, it has been 2 solid weeks of working from morning way past dark, but it's gonna be so worth it. Hi guys, welcome back to Fletcher Creek Cottage. In today's video, you're gonna see the entire process of us stacking our ICF blocks on our main level and pouring all of the concrete, so stay tuned. We are getting ready to start stacking our main floor. But before I can do that, I've got to remove all this red tape. We actually put that there to protect the little blocks there. See how it kind of goes together like a Lego, these Fox blocks? So if we were to have poured that and not protected it, all of this concrete, like any kind of a mess, would have gotten down in those grooves and that would have made it super impossible to get it out. So we taped it over the winter and now I've got to remove it all before we can stack the next layer. So stacking the main level is a lot more complicated than the basement was. We only had 7 windows in the basement and 1 door opening. This main level has so many doors and windows. So we really had to be very careful, paying very close attention to the blueprints to make sure that every single window and door opening was exactly where it needed to be. So of course that meant that this was very tedious and time consuming. About half the blocks we were storing in our garage here, and the other half of the block we stored down at my in-laws in their barn for the winter. We ended up using one of their hay wagons to bring all of the Fox blocks back down to our property before we could get started. So we started stacking our walls in the garage. You can see right here, we have our garage footers, and we really had to go up a few rows before we could tie into the main level of the house. And once we had a few rows stacked in the garage, we used the T-blocks to tie into the main level. You can kind of tell here in this clip, but when you stack ICF blocks, you want to start in the corner and then work your way in towards the center of the wall. You can start to see that we've made quite a bit of progress. We've got a lot of windows cut out. Those 2 small windows there are going to be flanking either side of my stove. And then the large window on the left, that is an 8 by 9 foot window. And that is right behind my kitchen sink. And that's hands down my favorite view in the house. Here you can see my son and my husband and my brother adding all of the horizontal rebar. So right here you can see these are the braces that we had to use. So these actually get screwed into your floor, or if you're working outside in the sand, you can stake rebar down through them to secure them, but they also get screwed into the wall directly onto a stud. Fox Blocks have studs every 8 inches, which is awesome, but basically you just screw these in, and they also act as your scaffolding, which is really great because our walls, you can see in this section of the house, are going to be 14 feet tall. So we rented these braces and ran some 2x10s and 2x8s across the top, screwed all the planks together just for a little bit of added security, and that way we could walk around and finish stacking the top few blocks, but also walk around the top when it came time to pour the concrete. Here, I'm cutting all the little nubs off of this block here. This is a T block, because on the very top row of the house, you don't want any of those nubs. You want to be able to screed the concrete flush. So this is a really exciting point to be at. You can see we've just got a few more blocks to put in on that very last row in this section of the house. And I wanted to give you a little sneak peek inside before I put the bucks on all of these door and window openings. You can see all the webbing in there. You can see all the HV clips. All the blocks are clipped together vertically and horizontally. And then you can also see all of our rebar in there that's vertical and horizontal. Once all of the Fox blocks were stacked and we had all of the rebar in, it was time to add all of the bucks to the windows. And I did that using great stuff and a lot of tape. And then the guys worked on adding all of the bracing. So we had to support the bucks and the openings for the doors and windows with 2x6 lumber, just to make sure that the doors and the windows didn't bow or sag and that they were really well supported for the concrete pour. The weight of concrete over all those windows really could make the bucks bow and sag, and we wanted to keep our window openings as straight and square as possible, so all of the windows that we ordered would fit in there perfectly. So of course, the bigger the opening, the more lumber we used. You can see on that 8x9 window, we used a lot of 2x6s and 2x8s to reinforce it. Same thing with all of our patio door openings. Those are pretty large, and you can see we added a lot of lumber to the inside of those. I am outside, standing just inside the house. This is the doorway to our garage, and we are this close, you guys, to being done with all that we need to do with these ICF blocks, stacking the main level of our home. And to be perfectly honest, I am exhausted. It has been 2 solid weeks of working from morning until wee hours of the night. We've brought floodlights out here. I can't remember the last time I was this tired out, just physically worn out from all of the just exercise, really. There's a long walk from this part of the house up into where we had all our rebar and our lumber and everything. We had to walk it through the sand, across a plank, up ladders, just to bring things into the house. The amount of lumber to frame out the windows for bracing, the amount of rebar that we've had to carry, all of these really heavy scaffold that you see behind me, all of these bracings for the ICF walls, super heavy. Just a lot of strenuous labor has gone into this. Now, stacking the blocks is pretty easy because they're super light, but rebar is not light, especially when you're putting in 20-foot pieces. We've had to use number 3, number 4, and number 5 rebar throughout this project, and it's just been a lot of cutting, a lot of carrying, and I am completely exhausted, but I'm thrilled to be at this stage. I'm over the moon excited. I'm so excited I catch myself almost crying because I'm just thrilled to be at this point. We do have our concrete pour scheduled for tomorrow at 8 a.m. and we do have quite a bit of work left to do today. I have to put up all of the common seam bracing. You can kind of see it here behind me. The 2x4s on the exterior of the home. We got started on it and we got rained out, and the great stuff really won't seal up the cracks very well if it's raining. So we did have to pause on that. We're gonna continue that today and get all of that done. And then the other thing that we've gotta do is we've gotta add some of our PVC like sleeves through the walls, anywhere where we're gonna need to bring electrical and things like that through the walls. Once we pour these concrete walls, there's no cutting through them. We're not gonna be able to change anything later. We're not gonna be able to drill through these walls. The basement of these walls are 8-inch. The main level is all 6-inch, so that's a lot of concrete. And once we pour this is gonna be permanent. So we wanna make sure that we get all of our sleeves in the right places for all my exterior lights around the porch and the garage and the whole back side where we have like a patio. Anywhere where I'd want exterior lighting or outlets, I've gotta make sure I've got all those sleeves in and ready to go so we can install those later. As you can see behind me, there are a lot of windows, a lot of doors, a lot of 2x6. Framing had to go in to support all of our window bucks, but look at all of this. I'm gonna walk over here because I wanted to show you guys my absolute favorite thing. This is probably my favorite design decision that we made in the entire house. Was this massive 8-foot by 9-foot window. It's actually 4 windows over 4, so the top 4 are gonna be picture windows, the bottom 4 are single hung so I can open them. My kitchen sink is gonna be right there. I've talked about this a lot, but that is my favorite view on all of our property. We have 65 acres here on a creek. That view is stunning, all 4 seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall. It's beautiful. I'm so, so grateful that we were able to put such a large window in right there, overlooking my favorite view. It's just gonna be amazing. I know this is still very much a construction zone. There's so much that needs to be done. It's a disaster. I mean, it's such a mess. The work has been extremely taxing and I've been filthy. You can see by my manicure, I don't know if you can see that, but like this is like permanent great stuff mixed with rebar, dirt and grime that just does not want to come off. Like I showered and scrubbed. And this is what the state of my hands looks like. Somebody commented yesterday and said, wow, you don't look very feminine. And I gotta tell you, I don't feel very feminine right now, but I do feel very grateful that we're at this point. And we had to push really hard for a couple of weeks. It was really long, but look where we got. I mean, it feels so, so good to have this done. We're planning on pouring tomorrow morning. Fingers crossed that we get everything done today that we need to. It was supposed to thunderstorm today, and that completely changed. We woke up this morning and it said no rain in forecast. So thank you, Lord, for that. That was a huge blessing. So anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna get to work, make sure I have enough daylight to get everything done that I need to get done. I'll check back in with you guys tomorrow morning for the pour. Can't wait. Hey guys, it's pour day. You can see right there we have the pump truck getting set up, getting ready for our pour. We've also got a lot of family members that came over to help, which we are so grateful for. Hey guys, so I'm back in the house. We've got all of the walls poured. Actually poured these and then took a week's vacation. We went family camping. It's an annual trip that we do every year with all of my siblings. So we did that for a week. Now that we're back from our camping trip, we're ready to get started on the house again. What has to happen next is we've got to take all the 2x4 strapping down. Most of it's already taken down in this area right here, all the common seams and the window bracing. Aaron got a really good start. You can see that all of these window bracings are already out, and we still have a little bit left to do on the outside. And once all of that's done, we've got to take down all of the scaffolding here and all of these 2x8 boards that are up there. Those are actually all screwed together. So it's gonna be time consuming to get these all down. But once we get all of this scaffolding down, we're gonna get that returned, get the entire inside of this house cleaned up, and then we have to build a supporting wall over here before we can start setting our trusses. So our trusses are gonna be here next week, which is very exciting. It's September now. We've had beautiful weather to be out here working. It's rained a little bit at night, but for the most part, it's been really, really great. But I could take a couple of minutes to answer some of the questions that I've been getting, specifically about ICF walls and Fox blocks. A lot of you guys are really concerned about the windows. We have so many windows. I think 44 windows in the entire house. And a lot of you guys are just wondering how the concrete flows down into the wall and how this system works. So basically every single window was formed up with bucks. If you want to learn more about Fox blocks, ICF walls, what bucks are, I do have a video explaining it in detail. I also have another video showing how we built our basement, so you can check that out. But as far as the windows, you do have to drill a hole in the windowsill before you pour to make sure that all the concrete is flowing down in. If it doesn't flow really well under that window, you've got to actually, manually add the concrete. So you've got to, shovel it in there. We didn't really have a lot of problem with that because we had so many family members that showed up and helped us. So there was a lot of people paying attention to that. Here's a look at one of the windows. So this window here is only 3 feet wide. So I only drilled one hole. All of the windows on the other side of the house that are a lot larger, I drilled 3 holes. That way I could make sure that I could look down in there and see all of the concrete flowing and filling up the entire section underneath these windows. The other thing I did is I left the concrete a little bit lower than the top of these ICF bucks. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to be able to fill this with great stuff foam, and then once it's dry, I'll shave it off, and that way it'll be flush, and that way I still have insulation on top of this concrete underneath my windowsill. Our pour ended up taking more than twice as long as it should have. The concrete pump truck that we ordered broke. It broke many times. So there's like a hose attachment that goes onto the end of it that Aaron typically runs that part of it, while the operator has a remote and he controls the crane, the robotic arm part of the pump truck. Well, the hose part split and they tried to duct tape it, which didn't work. It split again, and it just ended up taking like 4 more hours than it should have. And so of course we had plenty of time to vibrate the concrete that, was already in the walls while we were waiting for another hose replacement to get sent out to the job site. It was pretty much a nightmare. Not on our part. We didn't have any issues at all. All of our walls held. Nothing bowed, nothing sagged at all. So we were very well prepped. It was just, we were at the mercy of that pump truck that kept breaking. So that was really unfortunate. It was definitely a stressful day. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. We were really worried about our concrete hardening. We had to add all of the J-bolts for our top plate that the trusses sit on. We had to add all of those into the concrete, and it was hardening, and it was a mess. So anyway, we're glad that part's over with. We've had a lot of concrete pours over the years, in the 20+ years that we've been doing construction projects together, and that was the only time that we've ever had a really bad experience. But really, there was nothing that we could do about it. And that's just kind of how it is with construction, especially DIY. Sometimes things don't go according to plan, and it's unfortunate, but we did the best we could. And we're done, and the walls are up, and we're really excited to move on to the next phase. So we've got to put the mud plate on, Like I said, we've got to take all of this bracing down, but we're gonna put that top plate on first. This area where I'm standing right here is the primary bedroom and mudroom and master bathroom, and I've got a hallway, and all of this area right here, the walls are 9.5 feet tall, so it is pretty tall. On the other half of the house, the walls are 14 feet tall. So having a crane here to set all of these trusses is probably the best way to go as far as safety. So I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna end this video here. In the next video, you're gonna see us setting our trusses and putting our roof on. Our goal is to get the entire house enclosed as much as we can before any snow flies here in northern Michigan. That way we can work on the interior of the home throughout the winter months. We may or may not be able to get all of the windows in before it snows because of the timeline. So lead times on a lot of materials have been very long. We ordered our windows quite a while ago. We may not get them until the end of the year, maybe even first of the new year. So by then we could have quite a bit of snow. We'll see. If they do get some of our windows made early, they will be sending us our windows as they're made. So if there's like 5 or 7 or 10 of them, they will deliver them and then we can install those. They're not gonna wait until all like 40 plus windows are made before they deliver them. So that's amazing. Hopefully we get a few early, and I'll talk a lot more about what windows we ordered and why we chose them in a later video. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and following along with our DIY dream home project. This project has been by far the biggest undertaking of our lives. It's a lot of work, but we know that little by little, if we keep pushing on, eventually we'll get there. And who knows, maybe 1 year from now, I'm gonna be standing in this exact same place in my kitchen, and this is gonna look completely different than it does right now. If you wanna find out more about this project or any of the other projects that I've tackled, either here or on Instagram, be sure to check out my blog, fletchercreekcottage.com. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.